And good morning, and welcome to a extremely, I always say, very special edition of Truth to Power. But we've got some great guests that'll be coming on the show. Several of the guests that you will see on the show this morning are probably no stranger to you, especially my first guest. I know everybody that knows my first guest will be able to say, I know her, I know her. So that'll be the first thing that'll be coming out of your mouth when you see my first guest. And then my other guest that I have, some of you have partaken in the Twisted Storytellers, and you will know her either from being a Twisted Storyteller host, as well as she'll give another little bit of trivia about her and her singing background that she had. So stay tuned. We've got a plethora of great guests that'll be on the show with us. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin for Truth to Power. And I just want to say that I was going to give a little bit of a commentary pertaining to some things that occurred, especially like yesterday. And there was a candidate forum that was held at WC3D yesterday evening that was hosted by several people, including Charlie LaDuff and Karen Dumas. And I forgot the other gentleman's name that was the third MC for that event. And they had two different panels of candidates that were running for mayor. But from looking at Facebook, and sometimes you can go by Facebook, sometimes you may have to kind of go behind the source. But it looked like it was a very spirited conversation. I don't know all of you that may have attended. I know I looked at some of the pictures. I recognized a lot of people that were there in the audience. And it really just gave people a good opportunity to get acquainted with who the people are that are vying for your support for mayor of the city of Detroit. So hopefully a lot of people got a chance to go. It looked like it was jam-packed. And it looked like there were a lot of energy that was in that room. And hopefully the information that the candidates needed to disseminate out to the people that attended, as well as the people that saw the video on Facebook, that they also will be able to make some empirical decisions about who they would like to cast their ballot for come the election, because everybody knows there's two elections this year when it regards the city of Detroit, as well as for the city council positions and the mayoral position. So people reminded in August that will be the primary. And again, as you know, what I do and all of the guests that I've had on Truth to Power, we don't tell you to just vote in the general election. We also tell you that the primary is equally important for you to come out and support candidates that are looking for your support. So the thing is that don't hesitate, do your research. If there's candidates you want to find out more information about, either Google them or talk to other neighbors or go on Facebook or go on any other media platforms to find out more information, because they're going to definitely need your support come August. And remember, too, that if you don't vote in August, your candidate that you may be supporting or want to support in November might not make it. So the thing is that you want to not wait until November to cast the ballot. You want to cast that ballot in August to make sure that your voice is heard, not just in August, but also in November as well. So again, do your research. If you haven't been able to attend any of the forums, but I'm sure there's going to probably be more forums that will occur between now and the time of the primary election. So again, do your research, not just when it comes down to the mayoral candidates, but also the city council candidates are running for your support as well. So again, do the research. There's 7 districts, which means there's 7 candidates that are vying for a position in one of the 7 districts, and then there's 2 at-large positions. So there's a total of 9 candidates that are looking for your support. I can't recall offhand the candidates that are not going to have a primary, because if the candidate does not have to have a primary, it means that they are running unopposed. Or it means then that there may just be 2 candidates that are running for that position. Because be reminded, when you go and you're running, the August primary determines the top 2 candidates that will be running in the election in November. The same thing when it comes down to the mayoral race. I believe there's about 8 candidates that are running for your support in the mayoral election, and those 8 will be on the ballot in August, and then the top 2 vote getters in that candidate election in August will then square off against each other in November. So again, they take the top 2 in all the districts that are running for city council, as well as the individuals that's running for the mayoral race. But lastly, for the at-large seat, at-large means that you are running to, not in a district, but you're running in the entire city of Detroit. And there's quite a few candidates that are vying for your support, as well. So in the general election in November, for the at-large seat, which is currently held by Mary Waters and Coleman Young Jr., but now they're going to be looking for your support against other candidates that are running for that position as well. So the thing is that you want to make certain that you get out and support your candidate, because you're going to be able to vote for 2. So again, the top 2 vote getters will then be able to go and square off in November for the 2 open seats for at-large city council. Okay, with that done, let's get to my special guest, and she is someone that I've heard a lot about. I never had a chance to meet Renee Yancey, but from all of my friends that I talk to and have asked me, who are going to be your guests on the show Friday? And the minute I said, and I probably need to take a poll, probably other than if I had Kamala Harris on the show, but I probably should have took a poll and probably, tried to see who has gotten the most amount of support from my friends to say, I know her. But Miss Yancey was definitely in the top 5. And I bring on none other than this beautiful smiling face that is a phenomenal storyteller. And she can talk a little bit about her storytelling experience today, but none other than greetings and welcome to Truth to Power today, Miss Renee Yancey.
Thank you for having me. This has been a divine assignment. And just Miss Willis introducing us and then being here with you in the background and the history, it is an honor, and I am humbled to have a conversation with you today, sir.
Well, we are plumb pleased and pleasure to have you on the show with us today. But for the few people that might not know who Renee Yancey is, tell those couple of people in the great state of Michigan or in the entire United States that may not know who Renee Yancey is.
Boy.
Tell us a little bit about Renee Yancey.
A little bit about Renee Yancey. Well, I grew up next door to Lafayette Park in Town Square. Mm-hmm. And as I was driving over, I was thinking about those days and how my childhood started in volunteering. And the things that we did, we used to swim over at the YMCA. Penny Baylor, who is near and dear to my heart, her nickname for me is Second Mama, and she taught us all how to swim, all the kids at Golightly Elementary School. Shout out alumni, first class of Golightly. 1984, and so from there, we would swim laps to raise money to send kids to camp at Camp Cavell, also near and dear to my heart. 325 laps. I had someone bid $1 per lap thinking I was going to do 50.
Wow.
So they were quite surprised when I came with my little sheet at like 10 or 11 years old saying I did 325. Chalk it up.
Wow.
And they paid that 325. And so when I think about the journey, who is Renee Yancey, service is my superpower, and I learned it as a little kid, but didn't realize it. And so from there, just going to school here in graduating, going to Dominican High School on the east side, and during those early years in college over at Wayne State, I also worked at Hutzel Hospital. Met my first husband during his residency through Hutzel Hospital, so I'm dating myself a little bit, and moved to Chicago for 17 years. And so, as life would have it, the financial rug was pulled underneath me, and it's like, it's time to relocate and get back to home, because you cannot live in Chicago and not have some money. And so, but all my years there, I spent it in service. As a stay-at-home mom, I also was the president of the local school council there at my children's school in Chicago, elementary school. And so that's where I grew the skills to learn how to bring more involvement from parents of all different cultures. We were in an international space there. I think there was 79 different countries represented in their school. And so gaining the trust of folks who don't necessarily look like me and don't talk my language, but finding that gap, that bridge, those come with some skills.
Did you also, because I know you mentioned about the languages, did you learn any other languages in getting to know some of those other ethnic groups that were there?
I wish I would have. My language was love. And because I had...
And that's a universal language.
That's a universal language. But because I had a great reputation, the ones that did speak English trusted me. And so they became the translators. And so, yes, oh gosh, I wish. And I'm still going to learn another language. My recent interactions with the UN, unforeseen, but okay, it's time to, we need to learn some other languages because we're going to do some traveling. But nevertheless, moved back to Michigan. And I remember calling Penny Baylor. I'm back. I've been gone for 17 years, but I'm back now. And she said, well, I need a job. I need a career because I didn't finish college. But I had all of these soft skills and interpersonal skills that was gained as that local school council, elected local school council, who, by the way, I talked with the mayor of Chicago last summer, and he said, local school council, that's how I got my political career started.
He was one of my guests.
Oh,
he came here to the station
wonderful.
During the election last
yes.
year, and he was one of my guests that Miss Willis was able to orchestrate. And Mario, who was also our person who was able to get a lot of elected officials and leaders throughout to come here to the station to be on the Truth to Power show. But he, very, very professional individual.
Yes.
Who will be great in the role of mayor. And I hope he continues to be the mayor for a long time coming. But great man.
Great man. And so with my short interaction with him and then his team, they were, we started a local school council too. So this avenue to share the voice, to be of the people. It was just an awesome experience. And I'm so glad you got to meet him too.
Oh yeah, and he brought his team.
Oh, exactly.
Because he talked about his experience with education.
Yes.
So that's the one thing that he really, really was crafting his career around was education.
Yes, the children, absolutely, and I look forward to us getting to that as my story continues. But coming back and having to reconnect with the foundation of what my network before was a little different because it's 17 years later. But she said, Penny Baylor, go out and volunteer. Then you'll meet people and they'll get to know you and they'll see the things and all the things and then they'll ask you. And so, yes, I did volunteer, but actually insurance came my way.
Okay.
I prayed to God and said, okay, God, what we're going to do with all of this. And so insurance came my way, hence my orange. If I may, I work for HAP, Health Alliance Plan. And so by day, I'm an account executive there, selling small group health insurance to our business owners. I love working in Wayne County, but I work throughout the state. And so as the journey would hold, HAP came into my life. And then from there, I brought my energy, and how can I take what I have and make it better, make it shine. And so I was able to get the company a clothing drive. Mm-hmm. And we worked with, I saw one of my accounts was Allison Vaughn over at Jackets for Jobs.
Right.
Yes, and the amazing work that she's doing there. And so we did a professional business attire drive through all of our locations. Flint at the time, all different, downtown, Troy, and was able to get hold of Root Raj. And so he came by and we did a story. And so there was this opportunity to use those skills that I had gained. And then as the years would progress, Penny said, I want to invite you to Rotary. And I said, Rotary? What's Rotary? And I went to my first meeting over at the DAC, and I felt the light shining down, and I knew I had found my people. And so learning about Rotary and this international, national, and local organization that a few years later, I think 6 years later, I would become president. And then this year is my 7th year in the club, but also the first time second term president. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I was able to bring the skills that I had learned, in Chicago, and then all the marketing and branding and corporate skills and interfacing and building the wonderful, wonderful network that I have. I am honored to say that our networks have crossed lines. It sounds like over and over again. And so with that, brought just more opportunity to be of service. And so growing the club, in the first year, in 9 months, 28 new members. Wow. And that is a wow for a club or organization, because there are, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 48,000 clubs worldwide. Detroit Rotary is 16 out of that 48,000 worldwide. And so, and it had a reputation of being known as the old white man's club, hence the organization. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't my observation. This came from our district level during your training to become a president. So I said, oh, there's a great opportunity here. I'm going to reintroduce Detroit to Detroit Rotary to see that, no, it's not anymore. And look at all the wonderful new faces, hues and shades, and professional backgrounds from law students at 22 to members who are, 92 years old, retired doctors, and all the different professions in between. And so, it was nice to bring that energy, to bring that opportunity, to see that light. That first year, just changing our website, making it current, moving some operational things around to lower cost, getting into the Detroit Public Schools, and bringing Interact clubs, which are the high school version of Rotary, getting to the youth. And interesting, one of my Interact students over at Cass Tech got to go to her first political fundraiser for one of the mayor candidates, and that debate wasn't supposed to be a debate, but boy, it was last night at Wayne County. And
did you go?
I was there.
Okay.
I was there, and I can attest to the spirit that was in the room. A little bit disturbing at some times. I like to hear what folks are saying and not hear the shouting that's happening behind me. But it was definitely...
But I do hope, Renee, is that what it does is it brings people out to vote.
That's what I hope it
That's
does
the important
too.
part,
Come
because
on,
the
yes.
primary, usually it's sad when
Yes.
you see the percentages
Yes.
of Detroiters who are registered to vote
And-
that don't vote. But it's even sadder in cases when you look even in the general election and you see Detroit tending to hover around the 20 percentile,
And that's high.
and that's high in
That's
some
high,
cases.
yes.
You know, so now maybe with the spirit and the energy that was generated last night
It was.
and at previous town halls or debates or candidate forums, as people may want to call them, that there may be more people wanting to get out and cast the ballot, not just in November, but also in August
Yes,
as well.
It would be nice to see a strong turnout in August, and I totally agree. I'm a voting advocate. I have campaigned for folks who have run for office, and that room was packed. Every seat was taken, and then the rest of the room was standing room only. So to your point, it was, and I hope it does ignite people to get out and vote. Please vote, 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 vote. Your voice counts. It matters, because all of this wouldn't be happening if it didn't.
Well, we've got about 5 minutes left in this
Okay,
segment, but
yes.
just one thing I wanted to ask you then, you having touched so many people, one question I want to ask you before we get ready to take a break.
Okay.
What is the one word that Penny Bailey would use to describe Renee Yancey?
The one word? So one thing she says all the time is proud. I'm so proud of you. And it just means so much, because she's known me since I was 3 years old. And I would not be the woman that I am today if it wasn't for her, my second mama. Yep.
So now
Proud.
if you had to give the one word to her,
Okay.
what would you give the one word to describe your second mama?
One word. Oh, that's tough. I'm going to have to go to the superpower of love, but I'm going to throw laughter in there. That woman knows how to have a good time. And at almost 84 years old, she still wants to get up and dance with the young folks. And if that ain't spirit, love, laughter, so yeah, we're going to go with love. Love with
Well, see,
Penny
the one thing
Bailey.
I like hearing you say, because everybody knows Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, and they know his famous saying that he says, service is the rent that we pay for the
on.
work that we do here on this earth.
Yes.
And that's the thing that's really important, because it sounds like Renee Yancey exudes that service when it comes down to others.
Yes.
And what advice would you give if somebody came to you and just asked you, some young person, and wanted to get some advice from you? What would you give them?
First is be open to the opportunity. Take away your story that you're telling yourself, because the person that's standing before you, they don't know whatever that story is. So just show up. Be open to the opportunity, because once you're there, once you're in the room, no matter what the circumstances are, you have opportunity. So show up, arrive.
And now, when I witnessed you with your storytelling, you also mentioned another person.
Yes.
Because I know Penny Bailey quite well, but you mentioned another person, and she was also one of your monumental moms.
Monumental mama.
And I think that we got to take a break now.
Okay.
So let me, because I want to kind of do, and just real quick, when we come back from the break, Dr. Portia Lockett.
Yes.
So we definitely will bring her
Okay.
into the conversation
Perfect.
when we come back from break.
Awesome.
You've been watching this special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, and with my very special guest, Miss Renee Yancey. So stay tuned.
I know you've seen them. Those sleek vapes that everyone says is better than smoking. Here's the truth. They're not. Did you know that in Michigan, 14% of high school students use e-cigarettes? That's a lot of people risking their life for a quick buzz.
Nicotine doesn't just harm your body, it affects your mind too. It can make depression and anxiety worse, and even change how your brain handles stress. You deserve better than to let a tiny device control your mood and your future.
You know, I thought vaping was no big deal until it started affecting my mood and focus.
Yeah, and did you know that kids who vape are more likely to smoke cigarettes?
But there's good news. You don't have to do this alone. Whether it's through friends, family, or a support group, there's always a way out.
Your health, your future, you're worth so much more than what vaping has to offer.
Detroit's got your back. Visit CUYFDcoalition.org for tools and support to help.
Watkins Broadcasting is going worldwide. Now you can watch Detroit's own WHPR on your TV from anywhere in the world. No matter where you are, you can stay in the know with WHPR TV and Roku. You can get your easy-to-install Roku box from wherever you shop for your entertainment gear. Once your Roku box is connected to your TV and internet, go to the channel store on the home menu of the Roku box. Enter WHPR TV in the search engine and add it to your channels. That's it. That's all you need to get the best in entertainment, news, and talk, no matter where you are. Roku brings all of your favorites to your TV. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Crackle, HBO Go, and now WHPR TV, Detroit Live.
Muscles, joints, or feet tired, achy, or distressed? Tried everything. Ringmaster Rubbing Oil is a vintage topical pain reliever, trusted for over 70 years, with a rich formula for the treatment of stubborn aches and pains. Packaged in a glass bottle for purity, our liquid can also be used in warm water for foot soaks and compresses. A little goes a long way. Try our time-tested formula, available in several sizes.
Make a donation to WHPR TV and receive two 2-ounce bottles of Ringmaster Rubbing Oil for $25. Call 313-868-6612.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
And welcome back to Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are very, very pleased to have our general manager, our station manager, to join us. And this is Miss Maxine Willis. Miss Willis, welcome to this special edition of Truth to Power with myself and with Renee Yancey.
Anytime I get to sit in this seat, I'm excited. And I was really excited too. I was supposed to be taking care of some business back here, but I'm too busy glued into the first half of this show with this wonderful guest, wonderful lady you have here. So I'm excited to be here, Mr. Griffin.
Well, before we went to break, I know I had asked Miss Yancey to talk a little bit about one of her other inspirations, one of her other moms that she has in her life. And I know when she was doing her storytelling, recently, she mentioned a lady who was recently on our show.
That's right.
With a gentleman named Keith Bennett, who had guest hosted for me that day. And he knows Dr. Portia Lockett, and he had asked Dr. Lockett to come on and talk about the spiritual warfare that's going on in the community.
Yes.
So, Ms. Yancey, Renee, if you can kind of just talk a little bit about your encounter, your meeting, and how Dr. Lockett became a very integral part in your life.
Yes, this vibrant spirit, light, laughter, love, joy walked into my, I think, fifth or sixth grade classroom. She had just graduated college with, I want to assume, her teaching certificate. And so our class, our teacher at Golightly Elementary School had gotten sick with cancer, and so we needed a replacement, and they brought in Portia Lockett. And so she was excited, as she, you know, her vibrant spirit, to have us as her first class. And I personally was excited because this woman, with all of her energy, I guess she could see in me that I needed it. And so my best friend, childhood bestie, Nina Cortez, now Nina Sapp over at the DIA, she would take us, she would go to McDonald's and get the burgers and the fries and the shakes, and we would go to this room above the swimming pool, just off of, no, above the music room off the swimming pool, because we had our own swimming pool, like, wow. And we would have girl talk. She taught me girl talk. I didn't grow up in a home with, you know, a mother and aunties and cousins, and, you know, it was just me, my mother, and my sister. And so, yes, she was one of my monumental mamas in my storytelling over at the Charles H. Wright Museum for the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. And so we would have our time together, but then the summer came, and, you know, we parted ways, but I never forgot the seed. The seed was planted. And so years later, when I'm back in Michigan, back in Detroit, I was at Hutzel Hospital, no, the DMC now, it's the DMC now. And I went, my sister was having a procedure, and I went in the coffee shop. And this woman came in. Hello, queens. Hello, beautiful women. How is everyone doing? And I was like, oh my God, I need to introduce myself to her, because now, you know, this is decades later. And I walk up to her and I said, I need to introduce myself to you. I need to know who you are. Again, being drawn into that energy, just like I was as a little girl. And she looked at me and she said, Renee Oliver, my maiden name, I know who you are. And I went, oh, Portia Lockett! And, you know, and then we reconnected, and we have been together ever since. And so, yeah, that's Mama P. Y'all know her as Dr. Portia Lockett. That's Mama P for me. So, yes, that vibrant energy, soul, spirit, I am blessed to have in my life.
Well, you know, we got part of that story when we witnessed you and the other storytellers, you know, with the Twisted Storytellers. But now I'm going to let you talk a little bit about how you met this young lady.
So I met this young lady because of the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. We met at our Zoom rehearsal.
That's right.
And that was the Thursday. So last Thursday, I'm on the Zoom call, and so we, you know, we have to practice together. And wow, what a story. What a story. And so Satori, the creator, had told me, you know, once she and I had our one-on-one and rehearsed, that all the stories were different. Right. And just the importance of being in a place where your energy is kind and loving, that, because with a story like yours, Miss Willis, you only need love and kindness and support around you. You are such a strong woman, like I've never seen before, and not to carry the weight of it. I'm trying not to get into your story, but or take it away. But wow, and how you still continue on in the fight to free your son.
Yes.
So when you first came and you encountered Miss Willis, Miss Yancey, Miss Rasmussen, and Crystal P, what were your thoughts when you encountered them on that Zoom that Miss Yancey was talking about?
Well, first of all, I was just honored to even have this opportunity, because with what I've gone through and with the theme, Monumental Mama.
Yes.
I never thought of myself as a monumental mama. I just tried to be the best mother I could be to my sons, because thinking back, I had a monumental mama. So all I was trying to do was be the mother that my mother was to me and my sister. And my prayer has always been, Lord, let me use my voice to help others who are experiencing pain, the loss of a child, the incarceration, the wrongful conviction of another child. And there's so many mothers out there dealing with that. And I would say to the Lord to give me the strength to help turn my pain into purpose, and then to help others know how they can do that. So to be given this opportunity, I was extremely nervous. Extremely
I was
nervous.
so surprised.
Yes, I speak all the time, but when you have to go deep down inside to the lowest area of your pain, things that you don't even say out loud to yourself. And so when I first met these beautiful ladies, first of all, I was just in awe because of the professionalism, the way you spoke, your stories, the crafting, which I've learned that word, the crafting of your story.
Yes, it is important.
But what came across more than anything was, even through the Zoom, I felt the support. I felt the love. I felt, you can do this. And to see how my story even moved the most seasoned storytellers, that is when I knew that was God's way of saying, you can do this.
You can do this.
And during that evening, when I came from behind stage to sit in my seat, God placed you right there by me. And I just sat there, and you turned to me and you took me by my hand and you said, you got this.
Yes.
And at first I was like, how did she know that I needed that so desperately? Because it's one thing to speak, but it's another thing to speak about your pain, and to do it in a way where you want people to feel, you want them to feel your pain.
Yes.
You want them to understand, but you also want them to see the strength, and then you want them to see how God has moved on this monumental mama.
Yes. Ooh.
And to know that I'm able to get through this, not because I'm some superwoman, but the love for my sons was stronger than my pain.
Yes.
But it's so interesting listening to you two talk about the bond that was crafted between the two of you in telling your stories. What were you thinking, Miss Willis, when you heard Renee's story? What were you thinking about her after you heard her tell her story? Because her story was the last. There were 4 people, and yours was second, and Renee's was last. What was your impression about Miss Yancey after you heard her story in person in front of all those people at the Wright Museum?
Her strength, her resilience, her openness, how transparent she was, how descriptive she was. I mean, it was like, as she spoke and told her story, she took you on her journey. You can see her as she talked about her 2 little brown girls. I mean, it it was captivating. It was captivating. And when she came off that stage, I was right there to embrace her.
Yes.
And realizing how her story had moved me so much. And, you know, I'm the kind of person, I get my happiness and joy out of others.
Yes.
And seeing the glow. And, you know, because I watch the audience. I like to watch people.
Yes, right. What's that reaction?
What's their reaction and how they're feeling. And it was just, you know, I've been involved in many things throughout my career, but this was probably the most rewarding, personally, professionally, that I have ever experienced. And I'm looking forward to continuing on that journey.
Amen.
And just the love of the whole group, the storytellers, even the people in the room. And I think it was because the foundation that was set,
Yes.
first of all, by the leader. Mr. Corey isn't, I can't even find the words to describe. I've never met anyone,
Right.
never met anyone like her. Her beauty inside and out, the way she helped me tell my story in a way that I never would have. And if my goal is to be effective in getting my story across, being an effective storyteller. And when I said to her, when she first said to me on May 16th, I'm going to have you be one of our monumental mamas. And I thought, but I'm not ready. I need more time. She said, oh, I'm going to get you ready.
She gonna get you ready, yes. She gonna tell you no
She
and yes.
said, no,
Yes
I'm going
and
to get
no.
you ready.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she did.
Well, we're hoping that the bond that exists between the two of you is something that continues
Absolutely.
for much, much more time to come.
Absolutely.
And just kind of pretty much like walk us through, Renee, as to how you wound up becoming a storyteller.
So I'm in Monroe, Michigan, and I am having my first speaking engagement with Imagine Mentoring for Michigan. My girlfriend Latanya Garf, shout out to Latanya Garf, and so I was speaking there, and part of the segment for this Wonder Woman's conference was storytelling. So Satori was there, and she was telling her story, and she said, I'm going to leave some cards in the back. If anyone wants to be a storyteller, come and get the cards. But something led me to lean over to her. And I said, I want to be a storyteller. I've been a fan for, ever. And I did not know the subject matter. But I just knew that I needed to do this. And you're right here, so let me reach out and touch you. And then she left. I didn't remember seeing her leave any cards. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I don't know. But I knew I got in contact. She said, you'll get an email. And I'm thinking, well, what's the topic? What's the topic? I hope it's strength. I hope it's resilience, because these are things I know. And when she said monumental mama, I went, whoa.
I did the
Because
same
I don't
thing.
have, I didn't, like Miss Willis, I didn't have this example. At least not inside the house. My examples came outside the house, as you mentioned, Penny and Portia, and so she. so. And then it started. So that's how I met her at an event, because I've been such a fan for years, following the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. Now they're back at the Charles H. Wright and their new renovated auditorium. It is quite lovely. No cocktails, at least not yet. Hopefully they'll bring that back. But yes,
Hopefully
it was
they'll bring that
amazing.
back.
Yes.
Miss Willis, how was your experience?
It was, I can't even, it was the greatest experience I've ever had. What I've gone through as a monumental mama, again, with the son being killed, one wrongfully convicted, what Mr. Coy helped me to do, even in telling my story, because the first time when I told her my story, she said, I thought we were going to get together and we were going to do. She was like, no, no, no. I need to listen. I just need you to talk. I need you to listen. And let me say this that I didn't say earlier. It was so therapeutic for me. It was therapeutic because what she did was not only did she help me craft my story, but she helped me to, in hearing my story, we're going to start with your early beginnings. As a little young country girl from Woodland Park, Michigan. She took me back there. Well, she helped me go back there. And then she helped me to, when you came to Detroit, you created this program that went worldwide. You then got involved with the Angel Tree for incarcerated parents. You went on to, you met your husband on the blind date. You had 2 wonderful sons. You created a program for those who've been exonerated. You became a spokesperson for MAD. As I start feeling the weight lift off me. And it's almost like, even in all of your pain, as your story, but look at all the things that you've done. So this experience, I came out stronger than when I went in.
Oh, yes.
And it's like, because when you're in that pain, and the kind of person where I've been stuck at helping others who are feeling what I'm feeling, how can I help them? But she had to help me go down deeper and help Maxine.
So how did you encounter Miss Shakur?
We were there, we were going to have one of the storytellers on the show.
Okay.
LaDonna Dingus.
LaDonna, right, she was going to be on the show. We were so excited because I had never heard about the Twisted Storytellers, and she was one of the storytellers. She couldn't come on the show, but we said, you know what, Mr. Griffin, we still should go and support her for giving of her time to want to come here. So there I was in the audience, just like Alice in Wonderland. Can't wait to hear these storytellers. Isn't this wonderful? And she just happened to walk by. Now, with all that she had going on that evening, you're talking about, look at God. Ooh. She walked by, and Mr. Griffin, of course, is my champion and greatest cheerleader. And I was saying to him, one day I think I would like to do this, but I'm not ready right now. But I would like to do this because I got a story to tell. Yes, but once I'm strong enough to tell it, because that's what my prayer has been. Lord, help me to use my voice.
Yes.
She happened to pass by, and she stopped. We spoke. Mr. Griffin said she would like to tell her story. Cheerleader. Yes. And I'm sitting there like, I'm going to kick her leg, like, stop, don't say that. She looked at me with she said, are you a mother? I said, am I a mother? She said, May 16th, our theme is Monumental Mama. I'll call you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Ooh. 11 o'clock, she was on the phone with me. And I just gave her an introduction of my story.
Yes.
And the rest is history. And through the crafting, we've had several conversations where she listened. But when she listens to you and when she gives you feedback in a way that is so monumental.
Yes.
She has, it's like I said, but I don't think I'm ready. She said, you're going to be ready. I'm going to get you ready.
You're going to be ready.
You're going to be ready. But it's like, as a teacher in working with children, one of my main things is to raise the level of expectation. Amen. To not only teach, but motivate to learn. Mm-hmm. That's what she did for me. That's what she did for me.
Well, I'm going to ask Miss Yancey, what is the one word, Miss Yancey, that you would use to describe Miss Shakur?
Divine.
Yes.
Divine.
Amen.
Why do you say that?
Amen.
Because of the way I met her and the journey I've been on, healing the little girl from the pain of not having the mother that I felt I needed, wanted, deserved, and taking me deeper than
Yes.
I knew. Because when she called our first meeting, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to do this," she was like, "No, you're not." And I was like, "But I've already thought it out, and I think that this." And she said, "No, no." I went, "Ooh."
That's right.
I said, I thought I started thinking about one of my monumental mamas, that 10-year Sandy
Right,
Cotton in Chicago.
right.
She was tough. And I
Right.
thought, if I can handle her, I can handle anybody. But I heard that respect. I
That's
heard
right.
that excellence. I heard that
That's right.
get it together. And yes, ma'am, what am I going to say? When did your story start?
Just the way it started.
I was like, I don't know.
That's right. I did the same.
I don't know. But she makes you go deep.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's that therapy. That's that. And so why it was divine, because I have been on this quest for years, working on the forgiveness, working on using the tools of love and empathy, and learning why I was feeling, and then learning her story and why and how she grew up and the things she had or didn't have to give. And so to come to this moment and share that depths, I told people things I haven't told anyone.
Yes.
My childhood friend called me up. She said, "I didn't know about that." And I said, "Nobody did."
Yes. I
But it was
understand
time
that.
to
I can
share
relate
that
to
story.
I can relate to that.
It was time. I called it my doctoral presentation, because I've been working on this for some years now. And to finally be in that place, in that moment, to have that divine assignment,
That's right.
because it's time to go to the next level, because you've been in class. You
That's
took
right.
your lessons.
That's right.
You got
That's
your
right.
skills.
Yes.
You're stronger now. And it's time to be that light for others, but also it's time for your next level of engagement.
Amen.
And so this was a
Amen.
divine assignment.
Yes,
and that
absolutely.
lady is excellent.
That's right.
Excellent.
Well, Ms. Willis, in the few minutes that we have left before we go to the next segment, what is your one word that you would use? And you can't use the same word, divine.
Sorry.
Just phenomenal.
Yes.
Phenomenal in every sense of the word.
Yes.
She's humorous. She's beautiful, intelligent, confident, so transparent, engaging. And when I think about what my experience was like, I think about how many people are going to be so blessed because of what she started.
Yes.
And that's why I thank God that we're so blessed here at this station to be able to bring the story to express and show the impact that she's having. And if there's, other than her helping me craft my story, help Maxine Willis become a better woman.
Because I think your favorite new word is craft.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I say it all
We
the
have
time.
to craft this. We have to craft that. Yes. Oh, we need more crafting.
Because I think
She
since
gonna
you
get-
became
I use it.
since she asked you to be a
I
storyteller,
use it in ways
all
you're
I kept
supposed to
hearing,
use it.
Renee, was so funny. Every time when Miss Willis and I would do a pre-production or post-production conversation,
Mr. Griffin,
she was always
you gotta
saying crafting, to craft this segment today.
Yes.
And
New
that was
levels.
the
Or,
one thing.
or I would say, no, you just I'm going to listen. You say what you're going to say. Tell what you're going to do. I'm listening. But that's what she did. She
That's
said,
what she does,
I just
yeah.
want to listen. And then she goes back. And so not only did I learn the craft of storytelling, but just how to listen, how to be that phenomenal woman.
Well, we are so very, this segment went by too fast,
Yes,
as it always
it
does.
did.
But we are getting ready to bring the lady who has gotten so many people to craft their stories, gotten so many people to listen to how to tell their
my
stories.
goodness.
But when we come back, we will have none other than the originator, the host of the Society of Twisted Storytellers.
Secret Society.
Secret
of
Society.
Twisted Storytellers.
And she will correct me on
Yes.
making certain
yes.
that it's said
Oh,
the way
yes.
it's supposed to be
Well,
said.
it's the brand,
But
baby.
we will have none other than
Oh, this is
Ms.
such an
Satori
honor.
Shakur
Yes.
on the set with us.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
you.
you.
Right back.
Thank you.
The Word of Truth Church, 7107 Brevard Avenue in Warren, Michigan, presenting Breakthrough District Conference 2025. Glory is coming out of it. Workshop Wednesday through Friday at 6 p.m. Inspirational service Sunday afternoon, June 8th, 4 p.m. June 11th, June 13th, 7:30 p.m. nightly. Sunday, June 8th, Pastor Arthur Downs III. Wednesday, June 11th, 7:30 p.m., Administrative Assistant Alan Evans. Thursday, June 12th, 7:30 p.m., Evangelist Geraldine Simmons. Friday, June 13th, Bishop Robert E. Garner, Ph.D., District Superintendent. Also, Missionary Dorothy Glenn, Minister Rosetta Archer, musical guest, Dr. Tony Booker, Lady Kelly Johnson. For more conference information, call 1-586-486-4910. Presented by Bishop Robert E. Garner, Ph.D., and Lady Melistine Garner.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
Every Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 3 p.m., it's the Tavis Smiley Show. Distributed by R.J. Watkins Studios.
All media platforms are engaged. Copy.
Get ready to launch your show or product.
Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that.
Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
The PJ Collection. High tops. Slip-ons. Sweatshirts. Drink flasks. The PJ Collection. Available now at claudinejackson.tv.
WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
Back, and we are back with Miss Satori Shakur. And she, as many of you know, and many of you have probably been a storyteller in all the years that she has been doing this. And we are very, very plumb pleased and pleasure to have her to join us on the set of Truth to Power. And I know that here I'm listening to the young ladies that were on previously, Miss Willis, Miss Yancey, and I'm like, wow, I don't think I could do what you two did. You two are very, very gifted. And now I get the originator to be on the set with us. And it's interesting when I look and I see the finger snaps. And when we were there, when we were listening to some of the other storytellers tell their story and how people didn't know if they were to snap fingers or if they were to applaud, but you got the combination of both, as well as a standing ovation for so many of the storytellers that got up there, especially your storytelling that you tell. So we are very, very pleased to have you on the show with us today, but tell our audience a little bit about your journey and how your background in singing and now to storytelling.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me on Truth to Power. And I walked in a little early and heard Maxine and Renee talking about their experience, and I'm very close to tears, so.
So should we get Tim to bring some tissue just in case?
Yeah,
or Miss Willis is good at doing that part. So.
Please
okay.
bring me a Kleenex, because I'm still very honored, very honored.
But then your husband is here. Give a shout out to him because he brought you down
and
here.
my husband, Claudia Jefferson, is here.
Okay.
And I'm so.
So we give shout outs to everybody.
Yeah,
so
I'm thankful for
just
his
like
support.
you do when you do your stories,
Yes.
you also bring out
Yes.
anybody here from Wayne County, Oakland County, Macomb
Yes,
County,
yes.
any people that's newly married, newly divorced,
Yes,
and all these different
yes.
things. So you bring out a lot from the people that come to listen to you. But tell your story.
Well, every question that I ask the audience is a story, right? They tell a story about where they are. We're from Wayne County. We're just getting married. We're getting divorced. So underneath that, if you go further, there's a story. So you want to know, I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. East Side. Went to Cass Tech University.
There we go. Is there any other school? But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, there are other.
But I like the way
schools.
you said university.
Well, it was like a university.
Okay.
And I majored in music.
Okay.
Violin at the time.
Okay. Mine was Kim Bio, but go ahead.
Okay, Kim Bio. Yeah, we saw you guys.
And we saw you guys carrying your instrument.
Yes, yes. So I started out as a violinist and was playing in different orchestras and a jazz string group called the Electrifying Strings. And I was also singing. Martha Reeves' baby sister, we went to junior high school together. So we had a three-girl group. And so we would sing around, sneak into nightclubs. So I knew I could sing, and so when I went on to Michigan State University.
That's my school too. Well,
Oh,
we just
my
had
goodness.
Where did you stay at? What dorm?
I stayed in Hubbard Hall.
Okay, you're on the other side.
Yeah, I was in the Abbey.
Okay,
near the music building.
With Mason Abbott and
yes,
Snyder Phillips.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But I didn't like that. I didn't like over there, so I moved over to Hubbard Hall.
Okay.
And I majored in music, vocal music, and my dream was to be on stage and sing. And so after I left Michigan State University, I made a tape, 3 tapes. I sent them to different people. Mm-hmm. And I sent one to a friend in New York, L.D. Lewis. Shout out to L.D., one of the greatest tap dancers in the world. And he happened to be living in the same building as Robert Graves, who is now deceased. Shout out to Robert Graves, who became my manager. So he brought me to New York to record an album. And I have to say, shout out to Luther Vandross, Irene Cara, Diva Gray, Gordon Gordy, who were the backup singers, the session singers, top session singers at the time in New York. Somehow the producer made off with the master tapes, and there I am in New York. So I'm gonna stay. My mother's like, come back home and settle your mind. I said, I'm not coming. I'm gonna pursue this. So I get a call from a friend of mine that I've known since I was 15. He also lives in New York. His name is Overton Lloyd. He does all of the, well, not all of them, but he does some of the album covers for P-Funk. He did the Atomic Dog video. Okay. And he said, there's an audition in Detroit for this new group called the Brides of Funkenstein. So I borrowed the money, took the flight to Detroit, got the job, and a week later, I'm in front of 10,000 people in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But going back to the storytelling part, I come from a long line of storytellers. I come from old black women, not formally educated, from the Alabama, Mississippi, Jim Crow South. And that's the way they communicated. They had masters and PhDs in storytelling. I mean, they could actually make going to the corner store sound like Lord of the Rings. And I would sit next to my stepmother Sadie on the front porch on a glider, and we would rock back and forth, and she would just pour these stories in my ear. And her words, the way she told the story and created the different characters in the story, that made my mind interact like a movie. And I just loved, and I can remember the stories that she told me from earliest time, even before my legs could hit the ground, my feet. I would hear her say, "That's a robin redbreast, that's a blue jay, that's a pigeon." And those were little stories, and then the stories became more sophisticated. She started telling me how she met my dad at the Greystone Ballroom, and how wonderful my dad could dance, and the way he threw my aunt through his legs. And so I got to meet, my father was much older than my mother. So I got to meet my father in her stories of the younger man, the man that when the dog bit him, he ran down the street and bit the dog back, how he ate his pet rooster when he, so I heard stories of my father that helped me to know him when he was younger. And so this is the way that the women communicated with each other. And I remember as a young child, the men, my uncle was a minister, and he had a big congregation, and on Sundays they would come to his home, some of the congregation, and the men would be in the living room smoking cigarettes and playing checkers, and my uncle would sit there pontificating, talking about the news, the politics of the day, how colored people were being treated. And I kind of wanted to be out in the living room with the men, but the children and the women were in the kitchen shelling peas and doing women things, right? And I just remember I would hear one voice talking. I didn't know what she was talking about. And then the kitchen would explode in laughter, and I'd look around, and the women would be dabbing their eyes with the corner of their aprons. And I would laugh too, because the laughter was contagious. And I realized, they're telling stories to each other. And so there was a lot of joy, even though during that time, people, black people were oppressed. And they were mostly domestic workers. My mother was a maid. She worked Grosse Pointe and Plymouth, and sometimes they would all go together to do a dinner party, out in Grosse Pointe. So I come from that kind of people from the South, and that kind of communication style. And so singing is telling a story with a melody. Mm-hmm. And then I went on the road with P-Funk, and I did that for about 3 or 4 years, and then I did the albums coming out of United Sound Studio and Super Disc, and some studios in California and New York. So it was an amazing experience. It was like getting a PhD in how to be in front of an audience.
Well, it's so funny because I played the Brides of Funkenstein, the Don't Buy Texas from a Cowboy.
Yes.
And
if you can't dance to it, don't do it. If you can dance and get through to it, then do it, dearie.
And it's so funny because I wanted to ask you today, were you the lead singer in that group?
We all were. We all had.
Because I heard the different parts.
Right. We all were different leads. Sheila had that rock voice.
Okay.
And Don had sort of a lyrical soprano, and George would use me for these voices, these character voices, like I just did one. Tie-yi, yippee, yippee, yay, yippee, right. Can I get away? And I was like, can I sing, please, George? But he heard something in my voice that made him use my voice in a way of characters, doing these, funny little sounds and things like that, and.
But you know, it's so funny because I was saying to myself, all growing up, and I would see the album cover
Yeah.
with the women with the legs and
Yes.
the cowboy hat over the
Yes,
legs. And
yes.
I'm like, oh, if I would ever have guessed that I would meet one of the singers
Oh,
who was
wow.
one of the brides of Funkenstein,
Yes.
I would have paid homage to, and I'm really very appreciative to
Well,
have
there's
you
two
to
of
come
us
on
that
the
live
show.
in Detroit. Sheila
That's
Horn.
what I was going to ask you about.
Sheila
Who's
Horn.
still here?
Sheila Horn lives here. Dawn Silva lives in California, and Lynn Mayberry, she lives in California.
Do you all still keep in contact with each other?
Mm-hmm. I just saw Sheila. I was moderator for the We Want the Funk documentary over at the Charles Wright last month, April.
Okay.
Mhm.
So have they been any of your storytellers?
No, they have not yet been one of my
But I like the way you said yet. So there's
Oh,
still
no. I plan to get you and everybody else in Detroit.
You know,
And my
so
job
it's-
isn't
it's-
done until everybody meets each other one story at a time.
Well, you know, that's the thing that was so funny when I was talking to you about getting Miss Willis to come on.
Yes.
And that's the first thing you asked me when you had said,
Yeah.
is this for your story or is this for, and I said, no, this is for her.
Mhm.
And when you said about being a mom,
Yes.
and she was really kind of nervous about that. And then when I said to her, you know, I almost wanted to nudge her, you know, like, yeah, you were just on with Devin Skillion on this little segment that he
Devin
did
told the
earlier
story
that
on our
week.
stage,
And then
too.
Devin had told the story.
Yep,
and
Stephen
it was so
Henderson.
funny listening to some of the other storytellers. Monica Morgan, I
Yes.
spoke with her recently.
Yes.
And Monica was talking about the storytelling that she did.
Yes.
And one other person,
Mm-hmm.
that he told that he had did the storytelling with you twice. And I got to give a shout out to my guy, my brother in arms, and that's Keith Bennett.
Yep.
And Keith told me that he had been on there
Yep.
twice before.
Mhm.
And so it's like just listening to all of the litany of all the people that have gotten a chance to be on the stage with your storytellers.
Mhm.
But what got you primarily, Satori, to do that? I mean, to give that gift for all those other people to do their stories like that. What was
Well-
that concept around?
Well, 6 years after my mother passed away,
Mhm.
and then my son passed away 9 months later.
Wow.
My mother died in 2005. My son died in 2006.
Wow.
I was in hell, numb, just dead. And then 6 years later, I kept feeling like I wanted to be alive. I wanted to live, like I could feel myself coming back alive. And at that time, I had met the Moth. A girlfriend of mine introduced me to an organization called the Moth. They're based in New York City, and they tell stories. So they do story slams all around the country.
Mhm.
And she invited me to go to Cliff Bell's, and they were doing a story slam. And you put your name in the hat, and if they pull your name out of the hat, then you come up and tell a 5-minute story. They pick 10 people, and the judges judge you. So I won. And then you go to the Grand Slam. I didn't win that one, but I came in second. But the Moth was asking me, hey, can you tell your story of grief and loss at the Fillmore Theater? And can you host our new slam in Ann Arbor? And I was like, but I didn't win. Okay, all right. And I told my story at the Fillmore. And it was, I don't know how, it was however many people can fill up the Fillmore were there. And it exploded from my story. So then they started flying me around the country. I became a main stage storyteller and host. And then one night, I'm on stage in Austin, Texas, telling the story of grief and loss. And I remember I could hear a pin drop. And I noticed that the audience was leaning forward. They were just waiting for my next word, like we were breathing together or not breathing together. And it just illuminated that moment. And I'm like, I'm a storyteller. I mean, storytelling for me was like breathing. You don't grow up saying, what I want to do when I grow up is be a breather. You just breathe. So I didn't know that storytelling was anything that you could do. And And then after I told my story, people would rush up to me and thank me for telling my story. I'd get emails from all over the world because they have a podcast and thanking me and for telling my story. And then I began to think of storytelling as a service. And it also was forgiving me. Telling my story led to forgiving me in some way. And it was healing me in many ways, because when you're grieving, it's all inside, and people don't really want to talk to you about your losses. You know, they want to. They'll say, "Oh, you lost your mom, you lost your son." Well, I lost my grandmother, and I understand loss, but it's different when you lose your child, or if you lose your mother. They're your bookends. So I was going to grief support groups to help me, but telling my story in front of people, and then they can come down, they can take a piece of your grief, that all those people in the audience take a piece of that grief, and then it's out of your body. It's in the world where it's making a difference with other people. And they can see you healing. They feel they can heal too. So this was in 2011. In 2012, Wall Street had crashed. Too Big to Fail had failed and failed me. I had all my everything in my loft in storage, and I was living in a bedroom in my sister's house, and then later living in the basement of a friend's house in Ferndale. And one morning I came up, sat in her garden, and it was like, oh, if storytelling could heal me, could it heal the city of Detroit? Because in 2012, Detroit was coming back from emergency management, Flint water crisis, water shutoffs, gentrification, tax base moving out. It was just, it looked like Iraq in some parts of the city. And I thought, well, but I didn't have any money. I'm an artist, and so when things fall, financial institutions and resources fall, artists get hit first. We're on the front line. So I'm like, you don't have any money. But the idea took hold of me, and it was so delicious. It wouldn't let go of me. So when an idea, and you probably know this as an artist or a host, talking to people and doing what you do, when something takes hold of you, and then it makes possible a way. And I thought, oh, I could sell tickets in advance. So I sold out a 45-seat little loft space, and the storytellers got a standing ovation. And then every month we'd have to move to a bigger space, until finally we were invited to come to the Charles Wright Museum. And then we had a night, we could say, every third Friday, so people could rely on us. Now, people didn't really know what storytelling was. Oh, can I bring my kid, long as they're 8 years old? I just like Dr. Seuss. And some people stayed away for 2 years went by. Oh, if I had known it was like this, I would have been here. Betty Appleby.
I know Betty.
Yes, she was like, if I had known it was like this, I would have been here sooner. So I had to make videos so people could see what it was. Now, storytelling is a word now. And I even won the 2017 Kresge Arts Fellowship.
Congratulations.
Thank you. In the category of storytelling, which never existed before. Spoken word, poetry, but storytelling had lost its, I guess, place in the category of an art form. And I wanted to bring it back. In fact, our nonprofit is called the Society for the Reinstitutionalization of Storytelling, because we allow other people to tell our stories. And when other people tell our stories, then we're an extra in it. Things are left out. And so your story is powerful because you know what it is when you walked into the room and could smell the aroma of them greens your mama was cooking. You know what it felt like when you saw your wife across the room and she was so beautiful. The person telling your story doesn't have access to every moment.
Right.
And so those are the details, the specifics that I like to draw out of people, because those very personal, specific things become, though they're very specific, become universal to the listener. And
So what made you, and the question I wanted to ask you too was that you have all of your storytellers to give up to about 15 minutes of this story.
Yeah.
What makes you limited to just 15 minutes when I know that people probably would need twice or even 3 times to talk about, so it could be cathartic to where they could go and think about everything that's going on, and it's hard to put a story in just 15 minutes.
Well, you can tell a story in a minute, 30 seconds, as we see from commercials. But we have 4 storytellers. We have a musical performance and a dance performance and an intermission. So you can't tell an hour story, and you would be there for hours, And plus, we have some limitations. We rent the theater for 2 hours, and so we have to make sure that those stories are very succinct. Now, the perfect story is anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
But if it's compelling enough, people don't even realize time is going by. I remember one audience member was like, I had to go to the bathroom, but I didn't want to miss the end of it, and so I just held it and I danced in the back, But I realized that telling stories that could transform the community. Our mission is to connect humanity, heal and transform community, and to provide an uplifting, thought-provoking, soul-cleansing experience through the art and craft of storytelling.
So what would I'm going to put your husband on the spot. What would the one word be that he would probably use? Because he hears your stories all the time. What would the one word that he would probably use to describe his wife today?
Well, he's right there.
Well, see, I want to compare what he's going to say after we take the break, but I want to hear what you're going to say, and then I'll ask him during the break would he have said the same thing.
Well, I can say 2 things. He did tell a story on our stage before I married him, right?
Okay.
And I wanted him to tell a story because I wanted to dig into his life. And that's what you get to do when you coach storytelling.
I'm sure.
You have the privilege of being nosy, So he'd probably say she was scary, But I think that
because I can see the smile on his face now.
Yeah.
So you can't see it because you got your back to it.
Right.
But I can see the smile on his face.
Right.
But the other thing
I think
too,
he would be proud.
That's the word
that proud of
it
me.
made me think, because I was looking at when Renee and Maxine were, on the previous set, and when they were describing you and describing the kind of person that you were, and when you, and I was looking at you, but then I looked at him, and I could see he was beaming with pride.
Yeah.
Looking at him, and he was like just, and it was like just captivated with listening to, but it at the same time too makes him realize just how much more he's learning about you through the lenses of other people.
Right, and me too. I'm learning about me through the lenses. I'm sitting over there going, "Do not cry. You're gonna mess up that makeup. Your mascara is gonna run." But it was an honor. It was, to hear, that the work that you're doing is making a difference, with people, because I know that it makes a difference with me to work with people in their stories, because I have had big Marines on my show who cried through every story crafting session with me,
and see, that's the thing, because it's so interesting, because you just even using that word crafting, that's what they use all the time when they start talking about crafting their story.
Yeah. Well, storytelling is a craft, it's a science, and it at the highest level it's an art form. It's a science because if you can tell your story in a compelling way, it engages your brain, and then the brain lets go of these hormones, oxytocin, dopamine, and those are hormones that make possible empathy. It makes you want to, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? But empathy is what you want the audience to feel, because you want the audience to be with you through the story.
So
You're
now,
human, they're human.
We got to take a break. I want you to look into the camera and tell the people in the audience why should they stay tuned for the last half an hour with Satori Shakur.
Well, because I'm going to talk about my upcoming film coming out June 12th called Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale. And you don't want to miss it. It's coming out on Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime, and Google Play. And you don't want to miss it. It's my story. It's my 12-year journey through menopause, but I also talk about things that women don't talk about. And that's the purpose of the film, to get women talking about the things that they don't want to talk about as women for whatever reason. Yeah.
Well, you have heard this. Now you are compelled to stay for the last half an hour of the show. You have been voluntold. We'll see you shortly after this commercial break.
The PJ Collection. High tops. Slip-ons. Sweatshirts. Drink flasks. The PJ Collection. Available now at FlaudrionJackson.tv.
The Word of Truth Church, 7107 Brevard Avenue in Warren, Michigan, presenting Breakthrough District Conference 2025. Glory is coming out of it. Workshop Wednesday through Friday at 6 p.m. Inspirational service Sunday afternoon, June 8th, 4 p.m. June 11th, June 13th, 7:30 p.m. nightly. Sunday, June 8th, Pastor Arthur Downs III. Wednesday, June 11th, 7:30 p.m. Administrative Assistant Alan Evans. Thursday, June 12th, 7:30 p.m. Evangelist Geraldine Simmons. Friday, June 13th, Bishop Robert E. Garner, Ph.D., District Superintendent. Also, Missionary Dorothy Glenn. Minister Rosetta Archer. Musical guest, Dr. Tony Booker. Lady Kelly Johnson. For more conference information, call 1-586-486-4910. Presented by Bishop Robert E. Garner, Ph.D. and Lady Melostine Garner.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
Every Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 3 p.m., it's the Tavis Smiley Show. Distributed by R.J. Watkins Studios.
All media platforms are engaged.
Copy.
Get ready to launch your show or product.
Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that.
Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
Pleased and pleasure to have Miss Satori Shakur, and also Miss Renee Yancey is joining us back for this last half an hour. But I know, Satori, that you were about to talk before we got to the break about an oncoming film that you've got coming up. Can you talk to our audience a little bit about that?
It's called Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale. And I made a promise to my younger self that I would write about my experience going through menopause, because at the time I couldn't find any women that would talk to me about it, and I didn't know what was going on with me. All these symptoms, I didn't recognize myself. I'd ask my mother, I don't remember. I'd ask older women, I'm too young, and they clearly were not. I'd ask some women, I'm refused to go through menopause. So I was kind of left, without anything.
Yes.
And even now, doctors only get 1 hour training in menopause, and it's a stage of life. The symptoms can be debilitating, and they can lead to cardiovascular, breast cancer, things like this. So we need to bring this taboo subject out of the woodwork. And at the time, now women are talking about it. Oprah had a primetime special. I'm working with the Michigan Women's Commission with the Governor Whitmer. Callie Berry was there as well because she's putting a face to menopause. And we're going around Michigan doing town halls and different, and Renee was at one of them, and they have doctors on the panel, and we're talking, and you can see from the audience, the women, how much they want to talk, because
all ages leaning in.
All ages because it's like so quiet. So women, we don't talk about things that affect us, particularly menopause, because menopause starts at anywhere from 45 to 50. So that's a very mature woman, and we have been socialized, to be women who perform for the patriarchal male lens. So we want to be young, we want to be perky, we want to be juicy and relevant to men. But what happens, and that's fine, but what it does is it erases our accomplishments. I mean, how can Maxine talk about what's going on with her now, or Renee talk about if she's hiding what she's accomplishing? We gain so much experience and wisdom over 45 years, 50 years and beyond. Why wouldn't you? And then once you address the symptoms, what you come into contact with is the freedom of self-expression, your own power. And that's what's happening now, because we had a Kamala Harris, clearly menopausal, Michelle Obama, all of these women are very powerful, CEOs, grandmothers, people just occupying spaces that really can direct policy, and billions of dollars are being lost in the workplace because women are staying home because of depression, heavy periods, the nights, the sweats, just all of the things that would keep somebody home. I've talked to women who, I just wish that, when I'm in the boardroom, I didn't have to excuse myself to bump my sweat. And I said, well, my wish for you is that you sweat and sit right in that boardroom and mop your sweat, and let the workplace expand as a diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know they erase that, but inclusivity is, because workspaces were built for men. If women built the workspaces, there would be places where women could just go there and cool off.
Cooling
they could
rooms,
have their babies on the premises. It would accommodate for the unique people we are. So I wanted to tell my story in an effort to encourage people to tell their stories, and for women to be proud that this is a rite of passage. It's like a bat mitzvah or some other very pivotal time in a person's life, because this is the time where your reproductive system is saying we're going to take a vacation forever.
And look into our camera and tell, how can somebody witness this?
Witness the movie?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to be streaming. We drop the movie June 12th on Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV Plus, and Google Play. So have watch parties, ladies. Get in contact. Let me know how you've thought about the movie. Go to Rotten Tomatoes, give a review, and just spread the word. It's coming out all over the world. And we do talk about the pharmaceutical remedies. We do, not in my film, because I didn't take anything. I wanted to be pure going through it. However, we do need those pharmaceuticals. We do need doctors to diagnose us correctly, because some of the symptoms can look like something else. And so we want people to understand. And also to get the support from our husbands, our children, because when we're going through these mood swings in this crazy time, they need to know what we're going through so that they can be of support.
Yes.
So we need to talk and be proud that we've arrived at this age, because everybody doesn't make it to this stage. And matter of fact, women didn't even live this long. So we're this is the most. In fact, menopausal women are the largest demographic in the United States. So women in some stage of menopause are living here in the United States. And so that's a lot of women.
That's a lot.
Who need to know what's going on with them, so we can be responsible, so we can take our rightful places, bring our tables and our chairs, and start to create and feel confident of creating and enroll our men into supporting us in being our best and most powerful selves.
There you go. Now, for Aunt Sally or for Aunt Judy that didn't have a pen and paper to write that information down again, give it one more time.
Okay, go to my website, satorishakur.com, click on the film Confessions, and everything will be there. My link tree, you can go to, it'll show you all my social medias. June 12th, June 1-2. Amazon Prime, it's pay-per-view, Apple TV Plus, and Google Play. And you will find the movie wonderful.
And we definitely want you, Watkins Broadcasting, our president, R.J. Watkins, would love to have you to come back on again.
Oh,
yes.
So we would be honored to have you to come back on the studio station again to go and talk about it as well. Now, you've got another upcoming event that's coming up on, is that June the 16th?
June 20th.
June 20th.
It's Remarkable Men.
Okay.
So we have.
So the men get a little bit of. They get
Everybody
their time to
get
shine
it.
a
Oh,
little bit
yes,
now.
we love
Okay.
having men.
All
We
right.
love having. Yeah, we have TJ List, who's going to tell a story. We have LaTanya Garth and her father. They're doing a duet. Yes, and Bill Wynn, who's a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to tell a story, Mr. Griffin, you are welcome to come and take the stage and tell your story of your A5A and all the things, all the things. Anybody, matter of fact, I invite anyone to come and tell a story. I work with all of the storytellers. It's my honor, it's my privilege to work with the storytellers because I get to say to the storyteller, don't you see how extraordinary you are?
Yes.
Look what you did. Because some people, they live their life day to day. They don't realize that the things that they're engaging in, the things that they're doing in the city, in their lives, with their kids, with their families, how extraordinary it is. So take a moment, breathe, and just take in what you are doing, the difference you're making. And because when you can do that, then you can feel gratitude. And gratitude is one of the highest, most spiritual spaces you can occupy. Matter of fact, being in that space of gratitude manifests more for
Amen. Amen.
you. Working with Renee and Maxine and all the story, I mean, they think I gave them a lot. And maybe I did. But they don't know what I received from them. Just listening to her voice on the phone is so soothing, so mesmerizing, and she knows how to tell a story. Just listening to Maxine was so excited to tell her story, to honor her sons.
Yes.
And so everybody always was there on time, and just the excitement in their voices tell me and validate that this is something worthy to be doing.
So now you heard Renee's story. Now, after hearing her story, what else in terms of because she brought a lot out. I was very impressed with her story. Give what you thought about how impactful from you, looking at the lens of the audience that was there. What was your impressions of the story that she told?
Well, first of all, her story was so beautiful. in fact, when she was honoring all of the monumental mamas in her life, I don't know whether she realized that she was honoring all the monumental mamas in the audience and in the world. Because when she's talking about all the women that came into her life, you know, in the absence of her mother being able to show up for her, every mother is not able to show up for their child, you know, for whatever reason. And that should be okay. I mean, that's just human.
Yes.
And so for her to be able to forgive her mother, but also have the power in her child self, her teenage self, her adult self, to say, that's my mama right there.
Yes.
That's my mama right there. And be able to have them come in her life and give the gifts that they had to give her to empower her. To me, she was perfect in telling her story, because at the end, every mother in there, every father in there could feel honored through her story.
And
that's
it
the point.
was so interesting when I saw the spotlight shine on the pastor. I was really like, because I was sitting right 2 rows behind them, and me and Les Little, who were there together in the audience, we had communicated with them.
Okay.
And then it was so funny because when you went and mentioned her name, and I saw the spotlight shine in on her, I'm like, Lord, she trying to take pictures, and here she can't take pictures, right?
Yes.
And she got to drop her camera down to go and like do one of these.
Yes.
To thank you for recognizing her, you know, in the audience. And it just tickled me because she did it. She brought the camera back down again and started videotaping again. But I could see the shock that she had when you recognized her like that. And it was almost making me think like, okay, take the spotlight off her, like that kind of thing. But she really, really, and I told her when you were finished and the storytelling event was over with, and I looked at her husband that was sitting right there, and I was like, I bet you wasn't expecting that on your wife, were you? No, I sure wasn't. I wasn't expecting that at all. But it was just great how you just recognized the people that were there. And I looked and I saw Yvette Anderson, you know, and I saw others that were there at the event that you two, you know, were at. And I'm like, so that's why Yvette was here. You know, I'm looking at people wondering why they may have been there. And then the guy behind me, you know, he was talking about you, and especially when he said to you, Satori, she sung with the Brides of Frankenstein.
I know, I didn't know that
man.
either.
And that's what everybody was saying in the audience. So it's like, it was almost like a big family reunion of people coming that didn't know. And then I connected with one of the ladies that I used to work with back in the 90s. And she, Darwin, I kept waving at you. And I'm like, wow. And then she, when I was in the back with you, with those other ladies that was there, and I'm like, what, it's a small world. Because when I was there watching Jadonna, when she gave her story, this lady was sitting next to us, and she was like, excuse me, because, you know, I think we took her seat. And she like to step over us. And I'm like, but it's a good thing that we were there, because just like we talk about Divine, that I was sitting on that aisle seat to catch you when you were walking up, and then you would pass, and I'm like, I'm not going to let this opportunity. And you know who kind of got me to do that? Monica Morgan. Because Monica Morgan did a what if type workshop to like tell people, take chances.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the thing that I looked at. Take a chance and ask you about telling the story.
Yes.
And then is this for you? No, it's for her. But things happen like that.
Everything.
You know, and you never know when you may encounter somebody that might be able to help with that. But I know we got to wrap up. This 2 hours went by real fast. Definitely would have to invite you to come back on again as many times as you'd like to come back on.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to.
And Renee, now tell a little bit in terms of say about, before we wrap up, what was it that you most, and I know we were putting people to tears.
Yes,
I see
yes.
you got a little bit of moisture came from your eyes. I know Corey was saying that she had a little moisture coming from her eyes. But now that you got her in terms of say right here with you, and you get a chance to kind of debrief, you know, about how all of the storytelling and the crafting and the listening and everything like that, what would you say to Satori here that really came out of you and your storytelling? What was it that she really, really brought out of you? and what is going to carry with you from this point forward. And then, just like she said, what would your mother be saying right now about
My mother?
you?
Ooh.
Especially
we'll
having
end with
seen-
that one. So I believe that God always prepares. And so as life journey happens, you change. And I see this transformation happening in my life. So this training, this crafting of not just talking about it, but telling, it's a craft, it's art. I looked it up. There's several steps to this because you got me intrigued. But what it did, it also disciplined me and how I am sharing now and the opportunities that are coming to me, because I kept saying, well, I know my story, I can just talk it. She kept saying, no, you've got to get a dictator, a recorder, and she kept on me. And so I was forced to do it, and I'm so glad I did, because after that, then I took it and tweaked it and put periods and paragraphs and changed something, tweaked it, and then I had a platform to memorize. Something to keep me at a foundation, because when you're telling your story or just talking, you can go left, you can go right and get off subject. But this kept me honing in on what age I was, what happened, who was there, next and next. And I find this so just divine because of the next things that are coming in my life. And I need to be able to have this foundation instead of just getting up there and doing my thing, which I like to do. But when you have a certain amount of time and there's a message to get across, it has to be crafted. But room for ad-libbing too.
Exactly. Once you have that structure, then you can go over here.
Yes.
The audience can pull you over here and you can play and you can come right back. So it's important to know the map. I call it the map of your story.
You gave me the map lesson. Thank
and
you.
And you should tell your story. You're a great speaker. I mean, your voice is wonderful.
Thank you.
Your energy is wonderful. You reach, your whole energy reaches into the audience and grabs them, in a gentle way. And so use the craft to craft other stories, You have a briefcase of stories,
I'm using it for my next speaking engagement, which will be international in Ontario for our district, Rotary's District 6400. And I'm talking about energy and I'm talking about growth and membership, but I have it sectioned out now. And I got the meat on the bones, and so, now I'm practicing. So thank you, because that was right on time. And I'm getting off course of your question.
That's fine.
But
yes,
people would know it. So that's because you're so gifted in telling the story that people are patient. And that's probably something that I'm sure that Satori probably got you to realize, the listening. And sometimes you play to your audience. So you tell the story based on your audience and the reaction that your audience, gives.
Yes, giving those details, it helps you slow it down. It helps you see the color and the texture. It helps you get a feeling.
She has a way of weaving words together. You get it?
I know. She's very
I mean, the way she said about the texture
She's
and the
literary.
way she...
But it came from this teacher here. She said,
you had it.
Okay,
You
but she brought. Okay, she
You
brought.
had
Okay,
it.
I'll
You
give you
already
that.
had it.
But thank you, teacher. Thank you, therapist. Because when you said no, you're not just gonna talk. You're gonna tell your story. And when did it start? Oof. The tears started rolling, and I just opened my mouth, and it just flowed out of me. All this work again I've been working on. It was time to get it out. And I told things that I haven't told anybody. But being in a safe space that Secret Society gives you of storytellers, being an audience member for a long time, I wasn't a virgin to the audience view. And so having a safe space and knowing that this woman of excellence, of great integrity and pride is grooming you to show you off, shining you up so you can perform, and being vulnerable. And it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to tell that story. As people come up to me, oh, I never knew. Oh, and I'm glad you didn't. because I'm not wearing my pain. I'm not wearing the trauma and the drama. I'm wearing my happy, joyful self that came up out of them ashes. Right. And so thank you that you listened, and thank you that you don't see it anymore.
So if you had to give Satori any advice, what advice would you give her?
Give her advice?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because, I mean, everybody's growing.
Don't say
I receive
no.
that. No, keep saying no. Keep saying no. Oh, that's a tough one. That needed to be a homework question.
See, I took the question off of you about what your mother would say.
Thank you.
So that's why.
Because she really wouldn't say anything, to be quite honest.
But that's what I wanted to hear in terms of say about forgiveness.
Yes.
And that's the part that really has to, just like you, like Maxine, just like Satori talks about forgiveness.
Yes. And being able to love her where she's at. Yes. And you're right. So no, she wouldn't have said anything, or oh, okay, or I get crickets, like it still happens today. And so, but I'm at a place where it doesn't hurt anymore, and I understand. But I've also learned when to share and when not to share. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to set myself up for hurt and pain. But even though it's not there, we can go talk about something else. How is your chicken doing?
Her chicken?
Her chicken, lovely, this beautiful chicken that she loves on and cares for, who doesn't talk back and doesn't have an opinion about anything. Yes, lovely. But back to the advice. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, the dancer, the singer, you open up opportunity for those who don't have it. You know, the singer is not, I've never heard of her before. The dancer, oh my gosh, I want to connect her with so many opportunities and things, and help her to dream higher, because she's not dreaming high right now. I asked her, where are you going for college? Nothing wrong with Eastern Michigan, shout out, but baby, you need to be in New York. You need to be with Alvin Ailey. You need to be somewhere where the excellent perform, so you can take your already little excellent self and get greater and grander. And so my advice would be just to continue providing the platform that you do, that every Detroiter gets the ability or the opportunity to share their story.
So we got a couple minutes left. So what advice would you give to Renee, Satori, and then what advice would you give to Maxine?
I don't have any advice to give them. They were excellent students. I would just say continue to tell your story, continue to develop other stories to tell, because you now can see who you are in front of an audience, which I have to give just a few seconds to talk about the audiences that come. They are like a family, because the soulmate of every storyteller is the story listener. And people think listening is easy. I just sit there and let the story happen to me. But no, it's an interactive thing. So the audience really provides the storyteller with an embrace and with a come on. And even if you get stuck or you get emotional, you'll hear our audiences say, take your time, baby.
Yes, take your time,
Don't
baby.
worry. They take care of the storyteller because they want to hear the story.
Right.
To the degree that they'll rockabye you and tell you. And the more you, and that's another thing. Very few people get the opportunity to really be heard. I mean,
say that.
Heard. And that's what that audience provides.
Yes.
And that's what the storyteller is gifted to receive.
Well, we got to wrap up. I see Tim is telling me that we need to wrap up.
Okay.
But the thing is that we are very, very, very pleased to have had you on the show.
Thank you, sir.
And we definitely want to extend an open invitation for you both to come back again and share your story. Thank you to your husband for being so patient. And we definitely want to go and give a shout out. So just real quick, we got maybe 5 seconds. Tell about how people can get tickets for your event on the 16th.
Okay.
On the 20th, right? I'm sorry.
June 20th, Remarkable Men. They're remarkable. You can visit twistedtellers.org. Twistedtellers.org. Just click on tickets and you will find your seat at the beautiful Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. If my film, Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale, drops on June 12th on Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, Google Play, Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale.
And with that note, we are very fortunate to have had an opportunity with Ms. Shakur, Ms. Yancey. You've been watching Truth to Power, and we look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.